Hey, it's author and attorney Kelly O'Connell at Knockout Radio, trying to deliver enlightenment one podcast at a time, and hoping you're having a good day. Now, today's show, Independent Thinkers Against PC Culture Create New Worlds for Freedom and Safety. Each day as we arise, we greet a new day, even more repressive and tyrannical than yesterday. The latest is woke, a comedic movement pretending only one opinion exists on any topic, and disagreement means you should be ruined. But our society has been drifting this way for years. Driving this is a deep-seated fear in leftism that since their ideas are not natural, they must be reinforced by sanctions and even violence, or they won't survive another generation, explaining the crazy control of Bolsheviks, for example, extended in Russia. So, what is our salvation? Well, new private entities are reinstalling civility and protection across the world. One is Substack, taking journalism private and making big profits off of newsletters of all things, ending the impulsive need to punish others for their sins. And private cities, which are built for maximum profit and safety, which can be extended for liberty of belief, especially popular in Central America and Honduras especially, and other dysfunctional places. Now, I have another suggestion. Create large pacts of free will citizens who sign by agreement to solve every non-criminal dispute in private or by arbitration. No more embarrassing folks by media and ruining their reputations and professions, income, and social standing. Also, let's build fraternities of non-woke capitalism and corporations where the woke PC, cancel culture, and other forms of leftist revenge cease to exist. Shame on you, you woke corporations. So, let's get to this idea. First of all, thank you for tuning in. And I was thinking about this the other day. I heard this story about this place called Substack, which is on the internet. And it is a private, well, like a lot of places, you've got to be a member to take part. You know, you got to, New York Times even does that. But Substack is a place where a guy had an idea to make a private place for publication. And what he did was he gets people to come and do their writing in these at Substack. And it's put in the form of a newsletter. And then you have to subscribe. And the subscription is something like, I think, $5 a month is the minimum. So a lot of people are now writing there, big authors even, and you don't have to worry about your articles getting canceled anymore. You don't have to worry about getting banned because all this stuff is private. If you think about it, it's a stroke of genius. And it just shows you how far the culture has fallen, where we used to celebrate being the most freedom-loving, the most free speech-loving people in the world. And when we started to lose that, I mean, in a few short years now, everybody is afraid to speak openly in public. So you get these places like Substack, you transfer authors over there, people go in and they buy, and there have been a couple of people at Substack who've left because of other people in Substack. But you know what? It's private publishing, and they really don't have a right to go into somebody else's newsletters and to tell them what they should or shouldn't be doing. And think about that. That is the beauty of being alive. That's the beauty of having freedom and liberty. It's wonderful. And these woke groups in America, these tyrannical groups on the far left, are trying to take everybody's free speech together and take it away and then trade it for following their code. Now, how can you have a great conversation if you're under a speech code? How can you do great art? How can you take any risks? The answer is you can't. And so I thought, well, what would you do to turn this to a bigger arena, the same idea? And then I remembered private cities, and I had written an article on private cities in Canada Free Press in, I think it was 2011 or something. And at the time, January 2013 at Canada Free Press. So I named it Private Cities and Public Morality Are Non-State Founded Communities Wrong? And so what they were doing is going into Honduras, Central America, and they had put 3 private city, or what you call charter cities, together, and for the purpose of maximizing safety and happiness. And in Spanish they would be called, if my pronunciation is anything, which it's terrible, but Red Regiones Especiales de Desarrollo and Ciudades Modelo. And it's a capitalist dream. It's a liberal's nightmare, because people are once again getting liberty, but they're buying it. Now, it's fascinating because these private cities tend to be a lot safer and they are less expensive. The taxes are lower. Now, initially, Honduras had ruled that they were illegal, but after a few years, they were established. And so I've got the name of one of them, which is Prosperity, you know. And this is from Bloomberg in 2021. This is from this year. And the name of the article, A Private Tech City Opens for Business in Honduras. And so in Prospero, they have, it was started in 2013, and I had discovered these online, and then I bought the books and, you know, put the articles together. They've got a constitution. They've got a 3,500-page legal code, frameworking for political representation and resolution for legal disputes, a minimum wage that's higher than Honduras, income taxes lower, and after half a decade of being organized and put together, the city's coming together, and the first colonists will be e-residents. There's no housing there yet, but they're building on it. And if you think about this, you can have residency. Think about this. We are now all working remotely. And so think about this. Imagine being a resident, choosing that you wanted to live in Prospero because you like the weather, because the women are beautiful, because the food is delicious. No. Let's say you wanted to live there because you believed in the Constitution. Wouldn't that be great? So let's go back to my article on private cities. These have to do in some ways with the problems that we're dealing with right here in America. Now, what are we dealing with? If you had to say, what are some of the 5 or 10 things that you're most concerned about? And number one is you're concerned about probably the economy. We're just coming out of a recession. You're concerned about your health. You're concerned about woke. You're concerned about losing liberty. If you're anywhere in the middle or the right, you got to have that fear every day. You're concerned about safety. Maybe you're thinking about the border. Maybe you're not. But things have been getting more dangerous. And, you know, ever since these riots started, the cities are getting more and more dangerous. And murder has gone up some incredible amount in some of these cities, especially places like New York and Chicago and St. Louis and etc. So Honduras was a failed state, and there's a lot of drug running down there. There's a lot of poverty. And I'll just read something from my article. Honduras has the highest homicide rate in the entire world, according to the United Nations. In 2012, the Peace Corps suspended its programs in Honduras because of threats of safety and security. Visitors to Honduras are encouraged to take extreme caution when visiting because of their implied wealth. All too often, North American and European visitors become victims of rape, kidnapping, homicide, robbery, and assault in Honduras. As a result, Honduran President Porfirio Lobo suggested creation of 3 so-called model cities to combat Honduras's extreme crime rates, poverty, and corruption. As a result, Honduras's extreme instability, building model cities seems like a good solution to combat crime and poverty. So, these cities were funded by investors like Michael Strong, a libertarian entrepreneur and close associate of Whole Foods co-founder and CEO John Mackey. And Whole Foods is now owned by, of course, Amazon. So, these Reds, Regiones Especiales de Desarrollo, scattered through the country, they have the legal right to establish or outsource to foreign governments their own hospitals, schools, judges, police, independent of Honduran law. And so think about this. If you would... Now, if you want to look up about this more, go to the Article 304 of the Constitution of the Republic of Honduras. But think about this. What if we dealt with a lot of our problems this way? Now, could you imagine starting a model city or a private city in America? Let's just say you were living in Detroit and you were very afraid of the crime, or Chicago and Illinois. Would they let you make a model city? Well, you could, of sorts, but they would be worried about you superseding state or federal law, which you would not be allowed to do. But, you know, you could build some of these outside of America. You could go down and build them in other failed nations, and it's a risk. No matter where you live, it's a risk, right? So if you built a city, if you built a private city, what would you have in it? Well, I would have the most, the strongest free speech and free religion code humanly possible, like we used to have here. And I would also I would build a government that was very, very friendly to business. Because when the government takes away too much money from businesses in the name of tax or regulation, it becomes an enemy. Everybody needs a job. And this is very clear, that people who are given money who don't work don't do well in life. You know, think about the sons and grandsons of all of these multi-billionaire rich people, and how they often come to ruin. Think about people on welfare who go to seed. So everybody needs a job. And why get in the way? Why become an enemy or an antagonist to business when in a constitutional republic, business is needed to pay for the state? So I would protect that too. Now, I was thinking about the dark web is another area, and a lot of crime goes on in the dark web. So, you know, how do you have a place where there's no rules, that there's not crime, that there's not danger? But I was thinking dark web, kind of an antidote to the political correct culture, the woke culture, that people are always trying to punish others or force them to live in line with their own beliefs, which is the opposite of America. And I was thinking about, you could, and we could in this country, we've got the right to contract, we've got the right to form groups of any kind we want, as long as they're not illegal. What if you joined into a confederation and you agreed that with any other person in the confederation, that if you had a disagreement, even if it was over something like speech or being racial or being, you know, whatever it is, that you would agree, and that those people would agree to handle it privately so it doesn't become a media circus. And that maybe through, you know, it's not, for the most part, it wouldn't be criminal. You would settle things privately, and if you couldn't do it between the other person, you go to mediation. And if you refuse to live within the basic rules, the basic libertarian rules of this confederation, then you would be kicked out at that point. But you would still have the rest of the world to live in. And also, putting together a confederation of like-minded corporations. When you have Delta, when you have Major League Baseball, when you have Coca-Cola, Levi's, and all these other groups who are telling individual humans what they can do, and then telling states what laws they can have. How crazy is that? How insane? And that wouldn't be able to do in a private city, but also you wouldn't do it in this confederation of businesses. You would say, we will settle our political differences at the ballot box. We'll have free speech, and we can politic, but we won't try to misuse political positions to harm others. We're not going to use them to try to punish others. And that's what in America has become very quickly, is this punishment culture, and it's very scary. So what do you think about that? And then, is the idea is if people want to publish in private, it means that they don't feel like that they've got free speech anymore, and they are afraid to express themselves. And they look around and they see that anybody can be punished by the woke. The woke can set anybody up. They can go in your past, or they can take any claim, any statement, any idea that you've put together, and they can ruin you with it. So what do you think? And if it gets real bad, then how about going to, I guess you'd have to go to other places in the world. Now, maybe Canada would allow it. Maybe South America, maybe Central America. It sounds like they need the rich people down there. They need the educated down there. So what about making a private city? And would you go and live in a private city if somebody set it up? And would you consider that to be illicit, but a regular city like New York or Seattle, San Francisco, those have authority. But what's that based on? It's not based on God, because these places have a lot of godless people in them. So maybe we need to rethink our idea of authority and start over again. But summing this short little podcast up, and it's great to hang out with you, I think the answer to woke tyranny is libertarian private cities and places like Substack. And so, by the way, I saw the speech by Biden last night, and although he pulled it off in terms of not seemingly too mentally ill or mentally diminished or whatever, it was scary. Trillions of dollars of spending for what? $4 trillion. We were a good country. We were a prosperous country. Why fool with the model that we have? Massive government spending is meant to take from others and establish something positive, but it's going to backfire. And so I think Biden has overplayed his hand. He's got a tiny majority in the House. He's got no majority but one in the Senate. And so there's got to be a doomsday around the corner for these Democrats. But, let's just hope and pray on it. Anyway, I want to thank you for tuning in, and please put your comments down below if it's in YouTube. And I hope you have a great day. Kelly O'Connell. Bye.